A local man received commutation from President Trump before he left office. Corvain Cooper was serving a life sentence after getting a third strike for selling marijuana.
Tell me who wanna run with us. Mobbing back to back in them Bentley trucks. Blowing on that saucy to set me tight. I used to take that package, I would wrap it and send it up. Now I put money on your books until the day that you sent it up. One nigga Corvain said he living life after life.
We got something legendary for you guys, man. Today is the first episode of our Tons Talk podcast. We went from Instagram Live, doing 43 episodes, to now this is our first real video audio podcast. And we got something legendary in the house. First, we got Corvain Cooper, the man, the myth, the legend. Served a life sentence without the possibility of parole over a nonviolent cannabis offense. Was washed. Wasn't supposed to be here. Was dead. If you looked at the computer. And on Trump's last day of office, gave him a presidential clemency. And so we got CV in the building. What's up, bro?
Yes, what's going on with it, man?
Come on, we got, how many years we got together?
27, I've been dealing with you. 27 years.
I've been dealing with him too. But really what's really awesome is the special guests that we got in the building today. Some legends, some legacy folks, some people that's been doing it for just as long as we have, but 3,000 miles away. And it's an honor, it's a privilege, and we're thankful. Happy Munkey.
In the building.
Thank you, my guys. Thank you. Absolutely. Well, you got Ramon right here, one half of Happy Munkey, and we got my man Vlad. Yeah, we in the building.
Man, welcome to the show. Welcome to Tons Talk, gentlemen. You know, we could just jump right into it, but, you know, you guys flew out here for what? You know, there was a conference yesterday, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, man. It's first time in LA in 8 years for me, and I'm really honored what the reason was. It's PV Jobs, which is an organization that helps the youth and, you know, ex-incarcerated people get jobs and training, was having this conference, and I was one of the speakers. They decided to fly out, so it's real good to be coming out here for such a noble cause, you know, to speak to the youth, and then on top of it, to come tap in with my brothers that I've been vibing out with all these years, and now I get to be in their city and really rock out with them in person, man. I feel blessed to be here.
I'm super blessed. we were just kicking it the last time in New York. We chilled. You know what it is.
Man,
we here now.
Shout out Mary Taylor and Kai and everybody over at PV Jobs, man. They did it really big. They had so many great entrepreneur speakers, and what was really dope about it is that they brought the cannabis industry.
Yeah, so this is the first time they brought out the cannabis aspect as far as entrepreneurship, right? Because now it's an actual new industry, and they kind of wanted to hear from, you know, the aspect of Vlad in New York City, right? Because New York is what's happening at the moment, right? California's always been the epicenter, but right now at the moment, you know, what's turning legal is New York City, so they kind of wanted to get that perspective.
Not only that, they wanted to get the perspective of the real and the ones that's been doing it. You know what I'm saying? So the ones that's been curating the culture, and you know, to talk about entrepreneurship, like, just because it's cannabis doesn't mean that you don't have things like you said on stage, marketing, human resources, an attorney, an accountant, all the different things that you need in this industry is just like any other industry. So why don't you talk about that, Vlad, about how cannabis isn't just your guys selling weed on the street. It's way more than that.
Yeah, that was why it was so interesting, because, you know, I've done a lot of public speaking gigs, but this one was different because not only was I speaking to the youth, but I had to. It wasn't a cannabis conference. It was like more of a financial literacy thing. So I just highlighted more of our struggle and how we got here, and then also explained how people only know about cannabis from the aspect of, like, either you buy a dispensary or you're a grower, and there's so much more. Everything else you need in any other industry, from technology to data companies to HR to lawyers to everything that you need in any other industry, you need for this one. And I think that gets lost in translation because everybody just gets caught up in the growing and the selling, and there's so much more. So what I broke down to them was that you could do anything you would do in any other industry as far as, like, employment, and get way more money because it is cannabis.
Spit that shit. Spit that knowledge, though. I like that. Spit that knowledge, bro.
This is a brand new industry that, there's a lot of companies that are emerging, right? And all these people need these type of services. It's just not, everybody need it. Every company, every brand.
And you're going to get your head bumped. Talk about that head bump you're going to get because you're going to dive in and you're diving into something that you know really nothing about because we were just selling weed on the corner with a tax. Who was going to tax us? Yeah. Who's this guy? So, what do you mean? I have to pay you?
Right, exactly, and that's the tricky part about cannabis is really understanding that. After being in this compliant industry for a couple years now, I've personally learned that you can have all your stuff together, and you still it's a struggle in this industry. So I say, if you come to the cannabis industry for 5 years and you work all the different jobs, you could literally go work in any industry because you're gonna learn.
Absolutely.
You're gonna learn how to pull water out of a turnip. You're gonna have to learn how to figure out how to get it. And when you make, I always say this, when Jiffy makes peanut butter, right? First of all, I got to compete with all the peanut butters and all that. But when Jiffy makes peanut butter, the raw peanuts aren't $2,000 a pound worth for the peanuts. Now 6 months later, it's $1,000 a pound. So you're dealing with variable supply chain issues and having to balance that and become profitable. And it's nuts. And like CV said, the taxation and the compliance. So speaking of that, we could kind of more from entrepreneurship to New York and what's going on out there, man. Like, walk us through what the landscape in New York's like right now.
New York is like in an amazing place right now because, first it was the first fight when I met you at, which was to make sure they pass a progressive bill, and they did, one of the most progressive bills in the country. But now we're at the point where, they just dropped the regulations and they are actually awarding licenses. So now we're in that phase of things. So
man, fingers crossed you guys get one, man.
Yeah, man. Right now we're waiting. Right now, we got an application.
It's coming up. No, it's coming. It's coming. We're just waiting on the day that they sign the paper and give it to you. But it's already coming.
It's written. It was written.
And it's like you said, and it's just like now ourselves, like, shifting from like, and CV, like where we got 5 years events, merchandise, apparel, advocacy. But now we now we got to put our mind for 2023, hopefully, to operate in a retail and find the right real estate and design it correctly and make sure it speaks to all those things we've done. Make sure that the employees have the same vibe that me and Ramon have. Now our mind is in that phase because it's a whole different chapter in our journey and in the company's journey.
So like you've been a street entrepreneur, you've been a regular entrepreneur, and now you're bringing both of those together, and now you're a cannabis legal entrepreneur. Like, give some nuggets on what that's been like for you, and what are some things that you can give other people that are trying to do the same thing that you're doing. Like, what are some steps that they can do if they know they got a brand, like taking it to the next level, not necessarily the business, but like the ethics, the core values, things like that you're talking about. Like, what are some of the things that have made you successful?
And how you made it through the last recession of, still keeping the name Monkey, still how you overcame that and still kept the spot, kept everything together. You have to tell them how to keep it together when it get rough.
In the most expensive real estate of all of the world?
All over the world. So speak on that.
So before he go in, right, so I'll clarify, right? We're a cannabis lifestyle group, right? So it's basically, this whole time we were kind of figuring out how to become a brand without necessarily touching cannabis, right? Because we're in New York, we can't necessarily slap a sticker on weed and be like, yo, we Happy Monkey, this is what we are, right? So we had to kind of focus on everything else, right? We focused on parties in the beginning, right? Then we're like, fuck it, let's get some merch, and then let's do the pocket, let's do all these other things that surround the plant.
What made that successful?
I think, to be honest, it was a lot of what we already brought to the table, right? Because what we already had all the resources that Happy Monkey has. That was a thing of our past already. It's a thing that we've built, between me, Vlad, our partners. This is something we had, right? So what happens is, oh shit, now let's make this into a name, right? Let's give it a name. Let's give what we've been doing already a name. So that's basically what we did. And it kind of brought all our resources and networks together, right? Because now we got one platform, right? So now it's like, whoever I talk to on my side, as far as resources and network and whatever, it goes, yeah, cool, you got something for me? You got to give it to Happy Monkey. Because Happy Monkey is us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now it happened the same with him, right? So now we like, fuck it, now let's throw parties then.
Yo,
Right?
first time we came to New York, me and you, CV, they welcomed us. You know what I mean?
Open
Leo Bridgewater.
red carpet treatment.
Shout
And
out
we
Leo.
just got we did the interview that day. All that waiting and all that shit. We don't do that. Just get down there because that's how that's it's a lot of bullshitting that goes on in the industry like that. And then you get bullshitting and you just talking and talking and talking. No, we ain't talking. When the real recognize real, we're gonna do this today, so we don't even get into the bullshit category.
and I think that's an important point right there, CV, of part of what you just asked. Like, you just asked Ramon, and like, what was something that worked and made a difference? And the example was what y'all just said when y'all came to New York, the red carpet treatment. And we did that for everybody that walked through our doors, whether you were a billionaire, a garbage man, white, yellow, blue, black, no matter what race, religion, sex.
Yeah.
And that sounds simple, but treating people the way you like to be treated took us really far because it's a lost art. And I think that we brought it back into cannabis through our events and what we was doing.
That's the golden rule, bro. Treat others as you want to be treated, you know? So we definitely felt that. Shout out Leo Bridgewater out of Trenton, New Jersey. He was the one that brought us through. He's like, man, Aunt Corvain, y'all in the city, man, you got to go see my guy Vlad. You know, that we all know each other from Clubhouse, but you need to go meet these guys. And then we did, and it was just a great vibe. And if you haven't been to the Happy Monkey Lounge in New York City in Manhattan, I suggest you get up there and you do it, man. The vibes are right, you know, and the people that are there are great. And you never know who you may meet. You actually might fuck around and meet a million and a billionaire up there because that's who's rolling over there now, and that's the culture that you've created. So, you know, shout out to that, y'all, man.
Shout out that billionaires can be in the Brave Sun room as the Doughboys. Shout out to that.
Shout out to that. Word.
Speaking of that, you know, we were talking about Clubhouse earlier when we was out in the waiting area.
Clubhouse. Do y'all remember Clubhouse, everybody?
Yeah. and would you say that, like, was Clubhouse a turning point for the cannabis industry?
I'm gonna say yes, because what happens is, to me, what Clubhouse did was, you know, and I think this goes deeper than the cannabis industry. I think before COVID, people were really isolated, individualized, and really all in their own islands.
Okay.
And I think, unfortunately, for a bad reason, but that's the usual reason why we all get together, that helped level the playing field.
The pandemic.
Everybody, whether you were, exactly, the pandemic, whether you were at the highest level or the lowest level, you were in the same circumstances, dealing with the same issues, and there was no way around this. So I think that helped people understand that we all got to be humane and really tap into the humanity of people, and Clubhouse was just the vessel for everybody to do it at the same time. So when it came to cannabis, everybody was isolated. Cali, New York, everybody's in their own little world. I think that the meeting of the minds of the whole cannabis world coming together for that year or two kind of like sped up cannabis another 10 years, because now everybody's dealing with global information in real time.
Man, and what was dope was you got access to people you never would get access to. Like, remember when we was in the room with Gary Vee? Elon Musk was on there. We was just talking about that, right? Like,
Crazy.
It was dope, man.
Well,
and
didn't Clubhouse is basically where y'all met?
yeah, straight up. Yeah,
And it's crazy.
Tell
right?
that story. Tell that story, lad.
The reason that me and Ant went was because we both were fighting two things we were very passionate about at the time. Ant was fighting to get his brother CV, which is sitting right next to me, thank God, right here at the time.
Thank you,
And
Nigga,
I
you
was
home,
fighting because New York was about to pass a horrible bill that was going to be really bad for the culture and the community. No social equity, none of the things you see today in the bill today. So me and Ant had this both passionate things, and then we met on there and we clicked instantly because we both knew that we were, without knowing each other personally, that we were fighting for noble causes that had nothing to do with money.
Absolutely, man. And that's what kind of, I think Clubhouse did, was cream rise to the top. And you knew who was a bullshitter because they would always interrupt you, or they would always talk, or they would always not really do the things that they were saying that they're doing on Clubhouse. You'd look at their other socials or just their lives, and then you saw who really was out there advocating, doing the work, saying what they're going to do. And I think, like, we both just put action behind our words, and like a lot of other people did too. You know what I mean? There was people like Alex Tots, shout out Saucy.
Shout out Saucy, that's
Shout
my
out
guy.
Saucy.
You know,
Just talked to him earlier. That's my guy.
Leo
from
Bridgewater
Good
would get on there and talk his shit. That's how I met Leo, right? So
But
many
shout out,
people.
hold on, but we never can stop and not shout out the people who donated to $17,000 to $18,000. Me first coming home.
Oh, tell them what that was. What was that?
We're the first people to break Clubhouse and turn it into a fundraiser. 27 hours of my first day being out, raised $17,000 to $18,000 on Clubhouse. So shout out to all the people who donated $1, $2, $100, $1,000. Whatever you did, that was in there, was on the room. We didn't get no sleep. We did a full 27 hours. So if you want to grind, you want something, you got to be up all night to get it.
And so what that was, you would go into these different clubs and whatnot. We did that one on the East Coast Cannabis Network Club. And what we did was we stayed on for literally 27 hours like a marathon. So, when you got them infomercials that be going, doing fundraisers, we just did it on Clubhouse. We told the story about 79 times. You know what I'm saying? You remember when we used to have to reset the room. And so people would keep coming in, and then they'd come back, and then they'd go to sleep, wake up, and we were still on there grinding. And we stayed up all night. I stayed up for 25 hours. CV stayed up for 27.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an extra 2,400. Staying up to 27. So you got to keep going. When they just now waking up, they finna hit that ding. They finna hit the button. So
it was dope, man.
It was something that I'll never forget in my entire life. I don't care if I become a trillionaire. I will never forget that moment.
Right.
It was just,
man, we need to see if we could holler at someone at Clubhouse to get some of this like raw archive footage.
Yeah.
What you think?
And I think, man, I think that Clubhouse was like and that era right there during the pandemic just showed like the power of human beings. Like when you got a passionate mission, nothing could stop you. Not even the pandemic or being isolated at home. You still are gonna go and make sure you pushing that message and you're accomplishing what you're setting out to because it's bigger than you.
Yeah. It was awesome, man. I want to share a story about that. On January 20th, CB, when you didn't even know you were getting out because you didn't find out until the morning.
Yeah.
We found out, and we got the call from Ivanka. Your mama did, and then I'm always in Clubhouse. I was, at that time we were on it for like 8-9 hours a day. You know what I mean?
Hard. That was a 9 to 5.
Yeah, that was a 9 to 5. L'Oreal, shout out my wonderful wife and CEO. She used to hate me being
That's the homie. That's my homie right there. Man, love to you, L'Oreal.
The boss.
Yes, the boss, El Jefe. And so she used to say, get mad that I was on there. I'm like, no, this is how we gonna do it. How we gonna get him out? So we get the call from Ivanka. It was a regular cannabis room that night. I think you might have even been. You were in the room.
Yes.
And so we were. It was 50, 100 people, whatever. Regular room talking whatever they talking about. I come into the room. They instantly bring me up. They instantly make me a green bean. And I can't remember whose room it was. I wish I did. I need to look it up. But because I'm sure we're still friends. And we get the announcement. I mean, I open up the room. I take myself off of mute. I go, excuse me, everybody, please speak. We got to be quiet. I'm sorry to interrupt you guys, but Corvain is home. He did it. Yeah. And the whole fucking room took themselves off of mute. And it was like an arena, bro. It was special, man, if you were a part of that, man. And to this day, if people were in that room, they come up to me and they tell me it, and it warms my soul, man. It was dope.
And I also want to thank everybody on there because I believe that Clubhouse played a big role in how New York legislation went. Because for those that don't know, like I said, when I was on there with Ant, there was 2 bills on the table when New York first decided to go legal. It was the CRTA, which Cuomo was like trying to push for, and that was like auctioning off the licenses to billionaires, no home grow, no social equity. Then the MRTA, which we have now. So I had started a petition.
Okay.
And we got thousands of people to sign it. And through Clubhouse's social media, we got hundreds of thousands of people to repost the petition to the point that Cuomo was like, who the hell is Happy Munkey? Because it was that serious and that much impact. So I want to thank everybody.
And the impact from the right people. They had the right people in the room, because you can have all the impact if you want. Right. But if you got the right people in the room, and it only takes that one person in the room that's that close to Cuomo to get it straight to where it needs to be.
But I believe that got amplified because it wasn't just New York. It was the whole country and the whole
international.
world.
Yes.
Well, see, what happened was you created an ecosystem around the cause of what you did, and because Clubhouse allowed us to touch and speak and be with everybody, you would champion people for your cause. So where in the past, the only people that vote on the things that you're talking about are the people that are in those the geography.
Yeah.
So now your geography was everybody because people wanted to support you. So now it just turns your microphone into a bullhorn.
My man Ant got bars.
He
though.
got bars.
I'm talking about y'all, but my man Ant got bars. What?
That's my guy. That's
Who
my
would have
guy.
thought, right? First time in 8 years, right? Back in California, and we had to tap into the real because, during this journey, so many people have rocked with us and supported us. When we came here back for the first time since we started Happy Munkey, we had to tap into the good people. You know what I mean? They
Man.
always tapped into us.
And ain't too many
appreciate
many
y'all.
people in, I guess, this quote unquote industry got the stripes, brother. Let's be real. And when we mean stripes, we know what we're talking about here. My man went up to college for 9 years and thinking that he wasn't coming home. My man been to college a couple times. Ant been to college. So so these are situations that a lot of people don't got these stripes from this lifestyle. So it's like you got to connect with those who got those stripes, right?
And they can't understand the struggle and what we've been through.
Speaking of that, man, our viewers want to know, what was that like? Like, tell us about the 90s when you was coming up in New York and where you from and what, obviously everything was allegedly, but, change the names for, it's based on a true story type stuff. But tell us, what was it like growing up? Like you were talking earlier, because, you were talking to kids yesterday at the conference and you were talking about internships. So what was an internship like for you in 1996, 1997?
So for me, when I started, my internship was I always tell people the best analogy that I could tell you the way that I grew up. If you ever seen Bronx Tale,
Okay.
I grew up in the Dominican version of that, where everybody in the neighborhood was a real tight community.
That's dope.
All the OGs took care of everybody, made sure everybody was safe. It was money and there was things happening, but it was a real community tight-knit culture feel. So everybody knew everybody. So when I first came out, they're we can't put you to do anything crazy or whatever, but you know what? We can't move because it was like operations that they had going on where somebody had to be standing outside from 9 in the morning to 8 at night, and they couldn't really move. So they'll be I need you to take this money to my wife. Why don't you go to the cleaners? Why don't you go to the supermarket, do all these errands? And, me growing up poor, coupons and welfare, single mother, through doing these little errands, make $600, $700, $800 a week. So it was I was balling and loving it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as you said,
Where'd you get $600 from?
Hey.
at the same time, though, and now that I look back, while they was doing that, they was also teaching me morals, principles, and values. Nah, you can't move like that. You can't dress like that. You can't talk like that. You got to be respectful.
You can't play with people's money.
Don't
You
talk.
can't play with people's money, too.
Don't talk to your elders like that. When you see an old woman coming down, you grab those bags and you help her. They were teaching me all these things.
Sure.
Yeah, for us, for me, it's a similar thing, right? Because, we grew up, right? For us, it's blocks.
Are you from the same area?
So we're from, right? So he's from 139. I'm from 156, 157 in Broadway, right? So it's
Harlem and Washington Heights are
you near
next to each other.
You near the park, near Polo.
yeah, right near. I'm right there. I'm right
Okay.
near the Polo, right? So we right there, right? So I'm right where Harlem and Washington Heights meets, right? So it's similar situations, right? These they would treat it like companies, right? Because they have operations in these blocks, right? So you got companies, and like you said, this company needs all sorts of resources, right? They need security, they need lookout, they need translators. So that's what you would do as a kid. You hanging outside, you want to make a little money real quick, they'll stop you. Come here, translate, right? Because Covain here, he need the bag, he need this, he need that. I don't know what he's saying, right? So you get money just for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know?
So if I recall, in your speech at the conference, you said that was a superpower for you now, but it wasn't back then, man. Tell us, because that was game about translation. Talk about that.
Yeah, so like Ramon said, they used to be because they was real, me and Ramon, the first generation Dominicans, meaning we were born here. They were born in Dominican Republic, so they don't know English.
Right.
So when they got Corvain that coming through with the bag. Like, yo, Vlad, we want to make sure we're getting his order straight. Yo, tell us what Corvain saying. Make sure he know what we saying and make sure everything going copacetic.
Right.
So stuff like that. And then the other part that I mentioned that I ain't never mentioned publicly, like you said, and I felt like the kids would relate to it because, you know, I wanted to be relatable and real to them and not like create this crazy facade for them to chase that ain't real. So I was, you know, my nickname was Glasses because I grew up super poor, and you used to get Corvain the Medicaid glasses once a year,
the bifocals.
and you couldn't get new ones. So once they would break, I would have tape on them, and that's how my nickname became Glasses, and that was my nickname in the hood. And it's just like you said, it's like that back then. You know, I used to be like, you know, people make fun of me, they bully me, but now that became a superpower because now I walk into any room. And I don't feel like I'm not better than anybody and nobody's better than me. So what that helped me do is never walk into any room and look down at anybody and never walk into any room and look up to anybody.
Exactly.
Look everybody straight and judge them for who they are as a human being and their actions.
Yeah.
And so speaking Spanish back then, you were saying like that you know, that was that held you back, but then now as you're older, not held you back, but people didn't appreciate it as much, and they would make fun of you for it. But now you're in an industry where you're the only Spanish-speaking person, so now they're going to you to talk about cannabis in the entire Spanish world.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the way that worked was like Spanish was my first language at home, so they had this thing because, you know, back then, just like, you know how now they got all these different terms for autistic. You know, they didn't know that back then. Back then, you was going to special ed. They wasn't figuring none of that out. So it was the same with the Spanish thing. They wasn't figuring nothing out. They was putting you something called ESL, which was like another version of Latin special ed. You know what I mean? So I was saying that's how they would treat it back then, and you used to look at it like when you were young, like, damn, this is a liability. Like, this is bad. Like, look how they coming at you, trying to put you in these places. But now, fast forward, that's a superpower because there's not too many people in a high level of position in cannabis that can speak Spanish fluently. So now every time Univision Telemundo needs to speak to somebody, I'm one of the go-to guys, or Ramon, because we can speak authentically so the people can understand. Exactly. So just all these things that they made seem like it was against us, now we turn these negatives into superpowers.
That's what we're doing with 40 tons.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You give me life for the 40 tons, and we turn around and
exactly.
You know
now we got
now
we
it's the
got all the
brand.
good
You
shit.
feel what I'm saying? So it's the same. It's the same exact 40 tons, and you use the same exact superpower that took you down to bring you back up. If you ever look on my Instagram, and May 6th, I believe, or May 14th, it was 2019. I had Anthony post this, and I told him this is from jail with a life sentence, no possibility of parole. I said the same thing that brought me down will bring me back up. Right, so that's what we posted on the thing, and it's the same thing that we're doing right now, and that's the same thing that we're doing with Canada Christmas. That's the same thing we're doing with our career fairs, and we're just trying to put 40 tons back into the community to build it back up and put the legacy people back in the front, bro, where we're supposed to be.
And I gotta be honest, man. Like, you know, in between y'all and seeing, shout out my man Los. He got a cannabis brand, super bad. Like seeing what he's doing, Mary's doing with PV Jobs, seeing what y'all doing with 40 tons. The moral of the story is that I'm trying to say is that when I grew up, they always made it seem like for you to get a bag and get up in the legal world, you had to push somebody down or you had to do somebody dirty. They never made it seem like it's possible, like what y'all doing, getting people jobs, helping the community, and uplifting yourself. They made it seem like you had to do one or the other, and it's so good to see brothers like y'all and like Los and Mary doing, you know, doing what you do for yourself, but at the same time helping the community. When I grew up, I thought that those was mutually exclusive, like you couldn't do both.
You know, that's a great point, man. And that's kind of been, you know, the recipe for our success and why we have all these different partnerships and, like, you pulled those shoes. And,
the custom joints is fire.
Yeah, shout out Sneaker Fair Kicks for that one.
Fair.
Made the bombing shoes. You can't even get the Sneaker
You
Fair. If
can't
want
get the
him,
Sneaker Fair.
He's 6 months back order right now, so you can't even get to him. But this is how we were able to make partnerships because, you know, at the same time, too, it's like we don't have a lot of money. We don't come from trust funds. We don't come from, these big bags that we got to grind it out and sell 2 of these so that we can make it to sell 3, to make it to sell 4. So we have to like do things that are creative and custom. I mean, this podcast alone was built on a barter relationship.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Just
our
making
good
it happen.
off a club. I mean, everything really originated. A lot of our deals started at Clubhouse.
That's
man.
where we met. That's where we met the
You know what I mean?
people. That's where we met the people.
Clubhouse,
That's where we met the people.
Send my people over here a check, all right? Because they ain't going to keep mentioning your app and you ain't sending 40 tons of check, all right? Because they showing you a crazy love today, all right? That's
Seriously.
all I'm saying.
Send the wire. Send the wire, Clubhouse.
Send the wire, my G.
And we're gonna talk about that patent on that fundraiser on there too. We're talking about that
Yeah.
first fundraiser ever.
So like that's kind of like how we worked it, and we built the brand before Corvain even got out of jail to just kind of be an awareness.
And we had to write letters on
Right.
lockdowns. I'm going on 2 or 3 month lockdowns. So he has to write. We're writing letters because I signed my whole power of attorney to him while I was in there. Right.
crazy.
So because I know that I can trust him. It's not a think. It's a no. Right. So we're writing back and forth on how we're going to do the band, how we're going to build it. You can't do this and you can't do that, and we're getting our head bumped along the way. But
and then asking me like, did the Lakers win? Take them 20 on the under. Go
and we're trading stocks.
Go buy.
We're trading stocks too. We hit for about 6-7 bands on the 3rd day though. Then you start getting greed. Greed.
See,
always
we got
comes get
super
you.
greedy. We
Yeah,
lost.
they get you.
Fucking put it all. I said put it all back.
Up and down like it's Wall Street, Holmes. And so that's what we did, man. And so just like you said earlier, Vlad, was just like coming with our, with like this instead of like this. Mm-hmm. Right. And, there's mistakes that have been made. We've made mistakes. I take ownership of mistakes. But at the end of the day, it's about the intentions. And I think if you have good intentions, you're going to stumble. Sometimes business just doesn't work out and you take losses. But if you work to try to rectify those things and you communicate and you have things like that is within your core values, that's how you can win. And that's how we've been able to get to the Sunset Connects, the Hempers, the Herbals, the Sneaker Fairs, the Owls Oils, the Cushies, the Happy Monkeys.
Yeah.
Who else we got to shout out? Tetragram. Shout out our boy Ota at Tetragram.
Yeah.
Sunset Connect. Fibers. Who else we got up in here? Shout
Yeah,
out.
you got the
Bars.
cookie.
My
You got
man
the
got
cookies right there.
bars.
The cookies.
That's all I know.
You got the cookies when I first came home. So shout out to that. We appreciate
man,
that.
I'm a
First bag.
firm believer, and that's what you just said right now. I'm just break it down a different way, and that's what I go by. Every decision I make, every person I deal with, is that intention is everything, and character is destiny.
Ooh.
I really believe that.
Say it again.
Intention is everything, and character is destiny.
Listen to that.
Intention is so important too, man, because, and speaking of, and I hate to keep bringing them up because you're gonna write a check, Clubhouse, you would see people's intentions, and intention is really important because if you come with your hand out and it's always me, then what's gonna happen is you're gonna block the blessings if you give. And I know it sounds cliche and you give and you shall receive, but it's real because when you give, what happens is 1 + 1 + 1 becomes 50 because the synergy of that. And you were down and out, bro, and I just gave you a smile. And that changed your day. So when you walked down the street, it made you react to respond to that guy that you responded. And then he responded to her. And that never would have happened unless it was an intentional, like, to try to give good energy to you. So, that's kind of where we got what we got with 40 tons. And then just like going through the struggle. And would you guys agree that like struggle comes in all forms? We all grew up poor. We all grew up what we did. And that's what made us who we are.
Listen, man, at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer, no struggle, no progress. Mm-hmm. There is, if you have the mentality that either you win or you learn, if you think you win or lose, then you're probably not going to do well. I always look at it like either you win or you learn. You never lose.
Yeah, what was something, CB, that an example of that where you didn't, and obviously, your life sentence is one of those, but maybe another one where it wasn't a loss, but it was a learning lesson.
I believe like it all has to start with the life sentence. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It all has
Yeah.
to start with the decisions that was made and the things that you lost during that because they took everything. So it's like we're going to take everything and we're going to take your family and you're just immediately stripped from everything. So now you don't have no choice but to depend on God, right? So it's like the faith of everything. My faith is so strong in anything now. So it's like anything that I do, it's built my faith up so strong by overcoming that and really leaving behind people that got life sentences and people that's killed themselves. And I've seen some serious things with my 2 eyes. I've seen somebody that can't take 14 years and killed herself, and I was talking to him at the rec yard. You see what I'm saying? But being on at a maximum level prison where we were locked down there for 3 years, right? So to go through all this and go through riots and go through this and to get out, and somebody was cutting the line in Walmart. And just was on a 3-month line, lockdown for somebody cutting the line, got stabbed in his neck for cutting the line, right? So to see somebody cut the line in Walmart, I was walking like, damn. Where I just left, we stopped at Walmart to get the phone. I was like, damn.
That was right when we got out.
That's right when
we got out. When
right when you came and picked me up.
Yeah.
A guy cut the line. I just couldn't believe it because I have been living in 9 years where you cut the line or disrespect somebody or get in front of somebody. That's like total disrespect on a maximum level USP federal prison.
Yeah.
That's a whole situation. So, just the things that I learned from in there, and to learn that you can still do stocks, you can still just never give up on anything, and still make money and still sent bread home from the prison to keep my kids in there, and just to see the thing with Nas and people all coming together and really getting freedom grow in Can Do Financial, Sherry Sakar and Last Prisoner Project and Brittany K. Barnett and everybody coming together and everybody fighting for you, and really just get all these signature. Patrick McGurl, my attorney, I for sure can't forget about him.
Can't forget about Patrick.
Patrick, that's my brother.
Y'all would love him too. He's a New York
He's
Italian,
a New York
Italian
dude. That's my brother.
Shit
he
talker,
said he was going to
everything.
deliver me to my mom, and he did that. Came and got me from prison and delivered me back to my mom like he said he was. Refused to take any money from us. Fought for me from his heart.
Remember when we were in that hotel in Dallas when we met him before? Remember that?
Yeah.
That was a dope day.
That was dope.
Remember when we almost when you almost caused us to go to jail an hour out of prison?
No, you almost caused us to go to jail. He's speeding. I've been out an hour. We get pulled over. I'm not supposed to have contact at the time. Contact another parolee. He's on the 40 tons case. It's not like he's on the case too.
Right.
So I'm with a co-defendant.
You're not supposed
speeding
to
that I'm not even supposed to be with. Speeding back, coming from jail. Coming from prison after just coming back from a life sentence. So, just shitting bricks.
Yeah, if we're in the middle of nowhere, Louisiana, I'm going because we're driving from the middle of nowhere, Louisiana to Dallas,
crazy.
right? And then we're going to take a flight from Dallas because, we're not near New Orleans. We're like in the middle of nowhere. It's midnight, and all of a sudden the rollers hit us. I'm going 100 because I got one of them Impalas. So I didn't realize my foot was so heavy, and I'm like, I'm mashing, ready to go, and we get pulled over.
I told him to go check. I've still never seen him take care of that ticket. I think he has a warrant. You know what I mean? I want him to clear his warrant up before it comes in at the wrong time. Because I've never seen him clear that ticket up. So, let's clear that warrant up. I've said it over 10, 15 times, but it's just going one ear out the neck.
It's clear, man. It's clear. I'm hoping it's clear.
Oh, man.
You know what that comes back to, and I want to say, for me, and Happy Munkey, what that means, right? See, that's, I think, the reason that your brand is so successful and it resonates with the people is because of the purpose behind it. If you don't got a why and a purpose, it's going to be hard to make it to big levels. Yeah, you could get a quick come up, get a quick bag. But I'm talking about things of scale, things of magnitude. I believe that there's always needs to be a why and a purpose behind it. And for me, it's like you said, Covain, I grew up, rough in the hood in Harlem, 80s and 90s. If I grew up with 100 dudes, there's probably I'm one of the 10 that's left.
Yeah,
Everybody else is dead or in jail.
Exactly.
So it's just I got to be here for a reason. I also been up in the university and, left a lot of good friends that probably never going to see again. So every time I'm on a stage like I was on yesterday, every time I'm on one of these articles, it's I'm real over analyzing it and really, because it's not me. I'm speaking for all these people from my community, my ancestors that came, sacrificed their lives to come from the Dominican Republic. You know what I mean? By hook or through crook, taking little boats and shit, all kinds of crazy shit, to make sacrifices just for me to be here. all that is like the shoulders that I'm standing on, like all the homies that didn't make it, all the homies on the corner right now, and showing them that if I did it, they could do it too, and there's a way. So I feel so much pressure on myself because, like you said, there's a why and the purpose. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than Happy Monkey, what we represent.
If you don't do it, the cycle continues. So you're that first generational cycle of breaking the curse, right? And our parents, you know, God bless them, and grandparents did what they could, but they came from nothing and struggled. And, you know, my first house.
And they passed struggle. They gave us struggle. Type of shit,
right.
You know what I mean?
And so we had to learn how to combat that shit and uppercut it. And so, shout out to them for teaching us what it is, but
and teaching us struggle comes with survival. So then when it do tighten up, how the industries just tighten up, we're thinking of different ways. We know how to maneuver. We've been maneuvering, like, you know what I mean? Like we already had $20 when we started, so it's like nobody's scared to have $20.
No one's scared to go all in and lose.
I'll add another element that people kind of like forget when it comes to like you know, punishment behind cannabis or just like the war on drugs in general, right? You know, y'all been in university, people die. We know all these things, right? Well, I'll add another element, right? For us specifically, because in our neighborhood, this happens a lot, and I'm sure this happens all the time here because we're talking about Cali, right? Deportation.
Exactly.
So a lot
got a homeboy.
We got a homeboy.
Right.
That got deported just for some weed and can't be with his kids.
People don't talk about that part.
People don't talk about that. Shout out D. Martin, though. Like, you know,
Right.
my boy got shipped to Belize.
Right.
For a bag of weed. Now you no longer come over. Your kids is over here. You can't get back to your kids. You can't help your wife. You can't do nothing.
And he's dealing with it to the point where, like, his people's one of them got shot and killed. And he can't do nothing. His kids is having problems, and he can't do shit because he's stuck in another country over a bag of weed, literally.
Right, and look, and that shit sucks, right? Because I'm not talking about the person who just got here, doesn't know anything about the country. I'm talking about people we grew up with, right? Because they got here when they were kids. All they know is America. All they know is New York. All they know is California. So you send them back to this country that you say that they from, they don't know shit.
Yeah,
they got here when they was 2-3 years old.
Yeah. You know, so you got a lot of these folks that grew up here, and now you deport them. You know,
and that, you know, that's what this industry has to deal with. You know, in any other industry, whether it's healthcare or it's tech or it's whatever, they don't deal with these type of systemic problems, right? And that's why we're here, is to, you know, fight that and not even do it in a way where we cut people off. What we want is, we just want to have fair business. We want what's fair. We want the merits of our own work to be able to play on an even playing field, and then pass it and pay it forward. Would you not agree? I mean, it's like there's no other industry that deals with this kind of shit. Deportation, criminalization, can't get housing, can't get, you know, a job, can't none of this because of cannabis. Meanwhile, we're making billions.
So give you an example of like what
on a drug that's half a drug. It's not even a full drug. Like at certain places,
so give you
it's
an
a drug.
example of what we doing, right? Because like you said, right, we got to practice what we preach, and we got to be, you know, I'm gonna get a little philosophical on y'all for a second, right?
Philosophize.
So there's this famous writer, right, that he got this book, Hero of 1,000 Faces. I don't know if you ever
I heard of it, never read it.
He's like a deep philosopher and stuff like that. So, you know, people used to tell him, like, what do you tell somebody that wants to make a difference in the world? You know, there's so many bad things, war, viruses, this, that, you know, murder every day. How does one person make a difference when all this is happening? There's billions of people in the world. How does one person make a difference? And he said, I'm going to have to take you back to like the indigenous days and like what they believe, like the natives and stuff like that. He said that they believe that the world has always been a wasteland, always will be. Things born, they die, things go good, bad, and ugly. The only power we have as human beings is for us to be whatever we wish the world was. We have no other power.
Ooh. Ooh. So who was this again? What was from what book?
Hero of 1,000 Faces. I can't think of the name of the author right now. But I say that to say what I'm about to go into right now. So I can't look at y'all right now and tell y'all, and y'all know everything we've been through here in America to legalize this plant, all the trials, all the tribulations. So now, remember, me and Ramon are from the Dominican Republic, like not us, but our parents.
Right.
So now they're going through that fight over there. And they're not really with it, you know what I mean? So now there's this group that's like a little small Canna Gather advocacy group in the Dominican Republic that's fighting to legalize it. They coming to New York in February, and we're going to throw the whole way to Happy Munkey behind them so the Dominican Republic could see that they got the biggest Latin cannabis brand from New York backing them. Because we be hypocrites if we over here talking all this, and now they was where we was 7 to 10 years ago.
Now you want to come give them just a helping hand, and all of the helping hand needed just like you said, just a little pull. Like, we back in the play. Is Happy Munkey Dominican? You feel what I'm saying? So with Slash Dominican now, not only does it make the brand bigger, more wide, now the actual people that's on the bottom that's selling their first bag in Dominican, guess what? It turns the whole corner for the whole game because we're backed by the biggest thing in New York, and now they're coming out here, so we already know the game. We already know where you're going to get your head slapped at. No, hold on. The tax is supposed to be that. No, use that bag because this bag might cost 10 cents somewhere and it costs 30 cents. Don't get the 30-cent bag and get mollywop for another 30,000. You see what I'm saying? So you just live and you learn on all the mistakes.
Exactly. It's a hand up and not a hand out. Right? You know what I mean? It's listen, I'll bend over backwards for you, but I ain't bending over. Right? You know what I'm saying? It's about, each one teach one. Right? It's about teach a man to fish as opposed to give him a fish, right? It's all these philosophies, since we talk of philosophize, that is what we have to do in order to keep the torch going. What are some some brands or maybe some people or some organizations or groups that are in New York along with Happy Munkey that are doing the good work too?
There's a few you got On the Revel.
Okay.
They doing good work. They get the community together heavy. In New Jersey, you got Canademics. They doing good work. Shout out Josh, Shout out Jacoby, Lulu. Yeah. So there's a lot of organizations like that doing their thing, trying to push this thing forward, and we all support each other, and that's what it's about,
Man, we coming out to New York in March, maybe April. We're still locking the dates in, man. We need Happy Munkey to be there. We need y'all on the marquee the way Fairchild did y'all in Vegas, man. That shit was so fly. But we got our own conference called the Can I Get a Second Chance Cannabis Career Conference, where we bring past cannabis convicted and BIPOC communities into a space where we help them with resumes.
Records expunged, clothes, hair-free haircuts. Give out the numbers, though. We did 50,000 in scholarships.
We've done 50,000 in scholarships. Shout out to Oaksterdam University.
Thank you for that.
And NJ Cannabis Certified was also part that made it
over 75,000 in resumes and headshots we passed out.
Yep. Yeah. So
shout out Brand Resumes.
Shout out Brand
He's
Resumes.
Ready. Brandon, we see.
We do. In fact, we got some really good news that I can't really tell y'all, but just understand it's going down with Brand Resumes and Rightsy really, really soon. So we bring all these people together, and then we bring the people to it in order to get them employed and change their lives with careers and just teach them the game, with feeding the fish we was talking about.
And mainly too. And stopping. Hold on, because we got to stop them with the expungement.
You be loving to interrupt. You can
I know because we got it because expungement just kicked in. Because if I don't have the record, if I get the 2 priors, I don't get the life sentence. So we're trying to stop the next Corvain Cooper and get his record expunged.
Fair enough.
Because if he got his record expunged, it wouldn't be no life sentence. So
I say that to say we need y'all there.
Nah, man, listen.
Man, can you put me with your secretary's assistant? Because every time I try to call, it's like I get, I'm just trying to make us all bread, man.
I got you, man. I got you.
Can we give Vlad a smoke?
Yeah. No. I was drinking water.
Water. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate
that. But
man,
you have our full support, man. Because like I said, y'all only trying to do good for the people. That's what we all about, man. We trying to be part of the solution, not the problem.
We fucking with y'all. I don't know. I'll reel it back a little bit. What's y'all favorite right? Because I know you've been away for a while, right? So. And this is your culture right now. We in California, right? Yeah. What did you see? What was the difference that you see now, than what you see back then? As far as now you see a bunch of strains, right? Because there was a bunch of strains.
It's a bunch of strains, and then it's a bunch of stores, and now you got stores that's not stores. You feel what I'm saying? You can just put the plus sign with the green sign. Nobody not even messing with you no more. So you could just put the plus sign outside and just grind like that. My store actually that they took from me turned into a dispensary. Right, I had a clothing store that they see, allegedly said I'm selling weed out and I'm this big weed dealer or whatever that they said I was. Right, so it turned into a dispensary after I left. But anyway, the thing that I noticed is that just anybody can put their name on a piece of plastic, right, on a bag, right? And now they say they have a brand. We want it to like be different from everybody else. Mm-hmm. So when you open, we want to give you experience too. So when you open any of our bags, you see the chains, you're breaking the chains of injustice because we need the chains of injustice broken. So any package that you have on anything that you do 40 tons, it's always going to break the chains. So you can't buy any product without breaking the chains of injustice. So you get an experience on anything that you do. All our packages will be, we're trying to get this in all the stores where everyone's in the jail.
That's the display.
That's the display. Right.
Little mini jail cells.
Little mini jail cells. Just like if you came to MJ Impact.
They wasn't doing that.
Because nobody's speaking on the people that's in jail. Nobody's speaking on Parker Coleman that got 60 years, my co-defendant. Right. That's on the 40 tons conspiracy with us. Nobody's speaking about Luis Camarzo. Nobody's speaking about Edwin Tyre. No one's speaking about these people, and they're acting like it does not exist.
And it's all cannabis.
It's all cannabis. Yeah. And they're acting like it doesn't exist, and the industry just keeps bigger and bigger. And on every interview, I'll say it all the time about how would you feel if you got this big alcohol industry, right? But none of the moonshiners don't own Michelob, Miller Lite, or nothing. These are the people who started the industry. Mm-hmm. So we want the people that started the industry at least to have a chance at sitting at the table and getting to the front. And this is why we do our deal with Potcoin. We own 1.7 million coins. And we want to be able to give each prisoner that's been home a coin.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's Andrew over there in the background telling us you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. But to answer Ramon's question, I already know your answer. It's purple. You know what I'm saying? Right. For me, I'm OG, man. I'm an OG Kush, man. SFV OG, man, is what I like to smoke, man. How about y'all? What y'all like to smoke?
I'm old school, man. You know, I like that East Coast Miami Haze. I don't know if you know about that.
I do know about that, but we didn't really know about that because I was like, all right.
Yeah,
you know, he was like, all right. It was cool.
I got the menu over here.
I'm messing with you.
It's like I said, it's a preferred taste, but it's just like that's what I grew up on.
No,
man,
that's real. I'm talking shit. Our people grew up on chocolate tie and You know what I'm saying?
On brickweed. Actually, the 40 tons is all brickweed. Really, it maybe be 2,000 pounds of chronic and cut. But we were selling brickweed and AZ and shit and pillows. And
that if you would have tested it probably would have been like a half of ton of real shit. It was such
like,
garbage.
You know, that shit is garbage, but that's what sells.
For real, man. So listen, man, we're going to have to get you guys to come back here. Thank you for being on Tons Talk, 40 Tons brand, the movement.
Hold on, the first edition. Bring the real motherfuckers for the first edition. Kick it off with the big boy.
You already know, man. Before we get up out of here, where can we find you guys? Where can we find Happy Munkey? How can we follow you? How can we get involved? And how can we support?
Real easy. You can follow us on HappyMunkey_ on Instagram, and you can reach out to us on happymunkey.com. Happy Munkey with a U, ladies and gentlemen, and everything is there.
Man, you already know what it is. Shout out Happy Munkey. Make sure if you go right now and you use the code 40 tons, 40TONS, you'll get 10% off. That's gonna get put on the website tomorrow. But make sure that if you do that, you get your discount. But we want to see you guys really succeed. We love everything that you guys are doing. It's a blessing, it's an honor, and it's a privilege, man, to be have you guys on our show, on our first one. Love and respect.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, your vibe attracts your tribe. You're too blessed to be stressed. Things that get greater later, and always choose happy.
We don't do it for the
clout.
We do it for the
culture.
For the culture. Every time. From the east to the west, nothing but the best. Y'all know the rest.
You already know what it is, man. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to Hemper. Thank you to Sunset Connect. Thank you to Herbal Brands, Owl's Oil, and all the different brands that we're going to be working with in the future. Much love, much respect to you guys, and peace and love. And thank you, Purple Banner. Purple Banner in the building. Thank you so much. Love and respect.
Oh, man. This is dope. Thank you, fella.
Now I put money on your books until the day that you sentence up. One nigga Corvain said he living life after life. For all the homies on the bunks that was talking night after night.